So, America has chosen Democrat Joe Biden as its 46th president in the United States of America. What can you guys say about this?
Look, there is not an ability to social distance the closer you get to the White House. And it is outside. There is air circulation. We haven't seen a huge spike in COVID cases in the city after other large protest movements that were outside, perhaps because the crowds have been pretty meticulous about wearing masks. I've seen them go up to people who aren't wearing them and say, hey, come on, man, put your mask on. We're all trying to stay safe out here. But for the moment, it's like someone hit the release valve on the city, and their biggest concern is not necessarily COVID. It's going out and taking a sigh of relief and being out in this beautiful weather and being able to celebrate what most people around us are considering a victory here today.
Christina, before I let you go, I want you to put back on your hat as our State Department reporter. Are we hearing things from other world leaders? Are they sort of waiting and giving the U.S. just this moment before weighing in? Have we had much global reaction?
You know, leading up to this, especially European leaders were very reluctant to comment one way or the other. I remember I read a quote from some European lawmaker who was asked to comment about the presidential election, and they basically said, I want no part of your garbage election. They just are watching, you know, the whole world is watching from afar, because this is not traditionally how elections have gone in the U.S., right? They are traditionally peaceful and not quite this contentious, even though they're always passionate, and there's always been passion on both sides. So world leaders, for the most part, until today, we've seen statements from the UK and a couple of other leaders. I think after President-elect Biden, as we're referring to him now, speaks, we will probably see more leaders gradually from all over the world start to weigh in. But with politics, you know, there are people who maybe didn't agree with President Trump's policies, but President Trump's administration really benefited them. So those countries, I'm thinking like the Venezuelan opposition group, you know, Juan Guaido, they were very much supported by the Trump administration. And I don't know how they feel about Joe Biden, but I think they're unlikely to get the same amount of attention from a Democrat. And they knew that going into this race. So it makes, you know, the lines aren't quite as clear with the international priorities. You also have countries like Israel, who are a staunch ally of the U.S., who fear that, you know, a Democratic administration, a Biden administration, might not be quite as vehemently pro-Israel as we've seen with President Trump. So everybody's just slow walking it, I would say. But they, you know, statements of support are starting to come in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially China, Russia, the UK, see how some of these folks internationally respond to the news that we're all responding to here in the United States today. And to your point, Christina, this has been an election that has at times cast doubts on the electoral process, on American democracy, particularly with some of the words that President Trump himself has said about our electoral process. And American democracy is believed to be the gold standard, the platinum standard for how the peaceful transition of power takes place, how American citizens are empowered to choose who governs us. So now that it's done, now that there is a resolution, go for it, Christina.
Oh, sorry, there's a bit of a delay here. I'm sorry. What I was going to say is one of the big issues I'm seeing just on a micro level is in the last week we've had a lot of contested elections overseas. I'm thinking specifically Lukashenko in Belarus, who kind of had the secret inauguration and swore himself in. There have been a couple elections on the continent of Africa. There have been, you know, elections in South America. And the State Department traditionally sends out these statements. Like with Belarus, Secretary Pompeo sent out a statement saying, you know, you need to respect the rights of the Belarusian people to have a free and fair election. And the pushback from these governments is now, you can't tell us to have a free and fair election when your president is getting on television and saying that your own election is rigged and false and you have your own problems. So on an international standpoint, it has diminished the ability of the United States and the State Department to effectively advocate for democratic values overseas when people there do not see those same values being followed at home.